Hey, Facebook.
Hi, Facebook.
Hello.
It's your hometown movie guys -1, and we'll be ready to start here in about 40 seconds. So,
Hello, everybody out there in Facebook land.
Yes. Wake up and live, man.
I'll drink to that. I don't even know what she said. God bless Juan
Bob Marley.
Valdez.
Peace and love, man. Friendliness and Deuteronomy 9.
Yeah, peace and love.
Seriously.
That's the best of all.
Peace and love.
All right.
To His Majesty, Haile Selassie.
Man, the man was small. You know when he came to Jamaica and they wouldn't accept him because he was
15
small.
seconds.
He was so small, man.
I gotta turn the monitor off.
He was a descendant of King
Yeah.
David.
Yes, but then shrunk.
5 seconds. Bum, 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 bum. Good. Finally, Friday morning. We're at 5 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock now on your Friday morning, and boy, it's already starting to warm up out there. Matter of fact, we're already up to. It's got to be warmer than that. That can't be right. 63 degrees. Well, that's not too bad outside.
It's hotter than that in here.
That's right. A lot of hot air here. We have your hometown movie guys -1. Craig couldn't be with us today, but Tina and Andy are with us and coming to you live not only here on KRIM over the airwaves, but also on Facebook Live, where you can actually tune in and see just really how weird we look. So consider that if you have a strong
I think
stomach.
you look very distinguished.
Well, they say that as you
Did
get
you
older,
say
your eyesight
distinguished?
begins to wane. Anyway. hey,
Distinguished.
that's right.
You can talk this morning, yeah?
Thank you.
Oh.
And hello out there in Radio Land.
You already said that.
Can you ever say it enough, though? Hey, you know, one of the things, we got to, first of all, let you know about the different movies that are coming to the Sawmill Theaters
That's right.
starting today.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, a classic Star Wars flick being replayed there today. I'm anxious to kind of come and see that on the big screen again. But also, we've got a couple other little topics du jour for you today. But Tina also has a contest for you. If you can figure out the answer to this tongue-twistingly unusual term.
Okay, those of you on Facebook, it's probably only for you, although if Radioland can answer this, bully for you. But I woke up this morning, I put on my t-shirt, which is an English teacher joke, and I said, golly.
An English teacher joke.
Yes, it is.
That just gives me so many one-liners right there.
I know. I'm an English teacher joke as well. But I wanted to run a contest. So anybody who can translate what is on my t-shirt, and for those of you in Radioland, it is eschew obfuscation. If you can give me the English translation, the proper, simple translation for that, I'm giving away personally 2 movie tickets and 2 of our vintage, soon-to-be vintage, t-shirts like Andy's wearing, which has actually our faces on it. We are the hometown movie guys
t-shirts.
Yeah, so 2 t-shirts, 2 movie tickets. I mean, this is a screaming deal.
Boy, I mean,
Yeah.
some people would pay thousands of dollars for this, but no, you can get it for free.
That's
if
right.
you can just give us the English translation of what again?
Eschew obfuscation.
What does that mean?
Yes.
And
And it has to be, I have to accept the translation because it's my contest.
right.
Yeah.
And you can just chime in on Facebook Live this morning and give us your comments there, and we'll be more than happy to share those with God and everybody. So feel free. And
We don't have a studio line, do we?
not right at the moment.
You know, Rush Limbaugh has a studio line.
Yeah, well, he might have a slightly higher budget too.
Well, he started off small, you know,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
we all did.
Well, that's something we need to work on.
One of these days, we look forward to that, though,
Actually-
because we like hearing call-ins.
Actually, we could do that very easily.
Good.
I'm just not
Well,
prepared
then
to do it
get
right
her
this moment.
done.
Get her done.
Get her done.
It will require taking one piece of wire out of my bag of tricks, and we're golden. So we'll do that next week, and get people to call in and talk about Andy's T-shirt or whatever else is on the top of their frontal lobe.
Was that Mater that said that? Get her done?
Get her done.
No, that's Larry the Cable Guy.
Well,
Same guy.
which is the
Oh,
voice
yeah.
of Toe Mater.
Yeah.
Toe Mater.
Toe Mater.
Got a lot. Anyway, another movie reference. So first of all, we got to talk about the movies that are going on at the Sawmill Theater this week. Now,
Yes, let's do that.
And as we teased, there's actually a classic Star Wars movie that's going to be playing starting today,
At 1:15,
right?
The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, this was the second one
yeah.
that came out, and this would have been back in early 80s, right?
Yeah, I think so. Right
Yeah.
around,
Something.
around 1980.
Yeah, because the first one came out in 77,
Yes.
Yeah.
So this might have been 79, 80, right around in there.
right?
It's actually episode 5.
Right, because they didn't keep count well from the start.
You know, George Lucas is a funny guy. He started with episode 3,
Right.
or no, episode 4. I'm sorry. Started with episode. So the first Star Wars movie was episode 4, and this one is episode 5, but it's really the second movie. It's The Empire Strikes Back.
Ah, I like that one too. That was I think some of the early ones were some of my favorites, and I think part of that might be just due to the fact that there was so much in the way of special effects and things like that that we'd never seen before. That it was tremendous eye candy. Not to mention an interesting little mental trip to other planets and other galaxies and things like that. But
I like the critters too.
yeah.
Oh, the critters are good, and that bar scene.
Do, do,
Oh,
do, do, do,
all
do.
that was so
various
good.
aliens.
Yes, just kind of milling about like normal drunkards in a bar.
Which brings us to also a question that we want to ask you today to chime in with. And you're going to have to do this on Facebook Live today, but favorite quotes from the various Star Wars movies. And when you talk about I can't remember the name of that city now where that bar was at, but I remember as they were getting ready to go into the city, they were overlooking it, and Obi-Wan Kenobi said something like, it's a sump of something in villainy or something. I mean, he had some kind of comment about
That's an excellent quote.
That
Thank
is
you.
a good quote.
Yeah, I had one of the words right.
Something in villainy. Yes.
Something or other in
That
villainy.
covers a lot of
It might have been
ground.
chocolate and vanilla. I don't know. I might have not even heard right. I don't know. But I
I'm fond of Leia, who said, "Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder."
Ooh, those
I'm big on insults because when I teach English, I teach Shakespearean insults, and there are some doozies.
Shakespearean
Oh,
insults.
man, the
Can you give us
man,
an example?
oh dear, I'll have to think about it.
Okay.
I've got a whole sheet of them, but I have an actual Shakespearean insult builder where you take one from column A, one from column B, and then put it together.
See, this is what English teachers do in their off time.
Yeah, really.
Great
But
fun
it's
at
two
parties.
adjectives and a noun, and man, I mean, really. Do you know that Shakespeare, we're not talking about movies, but why not? I'm going to talk about
They
Shakespeare.
make Shakespeare
Oh,
movies.
yeah. He actually himself invented, they are pretty sure it's around 1,600 words that we use today that were not in existence before he came on the scene and started writing.
Like Nerf herder.
Nerf herder.
Let the Wookiee win. Wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
He actually invented these
He just made them up.
words. Wow.
Yeah, and we think of them as, we use them all the time, but it was he who put them together and put them in his place. Yeah,
Tell me that Keister wasn't one of those.
I don't know, could have been.
Just curious.
Could have been.
All right, so we've talked about that. We have the
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back starting
Yes.
today. And what else is playing at the Sonic Theaters, Andy?
Minions.
Oh.
Today at 2:00. Again, not a new movie.
Right.
But Minions, if you've seen it before, come see it again. If you haven't seen it before, Minions are great. I mean, they are so cute and so funny, and they invented their own language that is internally consistent and is
Externally confusing.
yeah. It certainly is externally confusing because nobody but the Minions can speak it.
Right.
So we don't know what they're saying. You have to kind of get it from context.
I'd say, with going along with what you were saying there,
2:00 today.
I have seen a lot of these movies initially because of my grandkids sitting
Sure.
there watching them with them. But I have to say with the Minions, they've done a really good job of making that entertaining for anybody. I mean,
You betcha.
it's funny stuff. It's well put together, and I mean, it's good for a laugh. And these days, we need more of those.
Well, absolutely, and thank goodness the theater is open so we can go in and get some giggles. I think the Minions are just great. 2:00 today. Tomorrow we have a special edition at the theater. Once a month, the theater shows what they refer to as a faith-based movie.
Wow.
Again, as the special movies often are, early on Saturday morning. It'll be at 10 o'clock tomorrow, Saturday.
Mhm.
And the movie is The War Room.
Oh.
Oh, and that is a must-see.
Yeah.
And bring your Kleenex, because
Mhm.
that's a really intense, fabulous movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Craig, as a public service, presents the faith-based movies at a special only $5 price.
Wow.
Yeah.
Screaming deal.
And anything that they do at the theater these days is done with the all of the proper measures in
Social distancing and all of that.
Absolutely, yep, yep. So tomorrow, special $5 movie, The War Room at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Yeah, what a great way to start the day. And you know, hats off to the Sawmill Theater, Craig and everyone down there for doing this, because I think, especially in this day and age, I think a lot of people are saying we need more of those kind of messages in our films and stuff. And so if you haven't seen it yet, you're going to want to check it out. And if you have, you probably want to watch it again, because it's definitely a well done. It used to be that a lot of the faith-based movies were kind of cheesy C-rate at best movies, but there's been a lot more investment there and a lot bigger return on investment over the past decade or so. It seems like the faith-based stuff has really found a niche.
Yeah, I think the producers for Pure Films said after, I think it might have been after the success of War Room, that the movie they made after that, they had so much money they were actually able to build sets.
Yeah, wow, what a revelation.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows you
Yeah.
where they were and where they are now. Anyway, tomorrow at 10 a.m. special $5. Bring a friend. But also playing is been out for a week now. Bill and Ted Face the Music.
And this is new.
This is new.
You know, this is a takeoff on the old Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or whatever, and then there was a couple of them, right?
Yes, there certainly were.
But it's been a long time. I mean, Keanu Reeves, went down a whole different set of stairs there for a number of years, playing very serious, dramatic roles, and it's kind of neat to see him come back to the like totally tubular stuff.
Yep. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, followed by Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Right.
And this is Bill and Ted Face the Music. The Bill and Ted are grown-ups now. They have daughters that are about 20, 21, something like that. And the daughters are exactly like Bill and Ted were at that age.
Yeah.
Their language, their physical motions. I mean, these two girls did just a terrific job.
Karma, baby, it comes back to bite you.
Imitating their screen fathers is really well done, and they're faced with this proposition, dilemma, problem of cosmic consequence. They have to come up. Of course, their band is the Wild Stallions, and they have to come up with a song so powerful that it unifies the world, or life as we know it will become extinct.
No pressure.
So did they sing "We Are the World"?
Did not.
And there's an earworm for all of you guys out there.
Yeah,
You're going to be thinking that.
They did have a song that they wrote, and the title of it is "That Which Binds Us Through Time, the Chemical, Physical, and Biological Nature of Love, and Expansion of the Meaning of Meaning." That's the title of the song.
Whoa, tubular, man.
Hold on, what was
tubular.
that? The title again was what?
What? That's the title?
That is the title of the
Goodness.
song.
That's like a verse.
This
That's like
this
a
was
whole-
not
yeah.
spoiler. This was not the song that unifies the world. But the title of this song, and
Imagine
I
that.
told you that they were having trouble coming up with a good song. This one was "That Which Binds Us Through Time, the Chemical, Physical, and Biological Nature of Love, and Explanation of the Meaning of Meaning." And no, that did not unify the world.
That's how Shakespearean. It's sort of.
It's very deep in a shallow kind of way.
I'll beat thee, but I would infect my hands.
There she goes.
That's a Shakespearean insult there.
Oh, it is?
I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, so,
Anyway,
that sounds like an interesting.
Sure, Bill and Ted Face the Music. I mean, for Bill and Ted fans, this is really a must-see.
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely terrific, but my wife Patty thinks that I'm demented. She
Hey,
says,
Patty.
says those guys are so dumb.
Well,
Anyway.
it could be like a Three Stooges thing, you know?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
There was just
Some
a-
people like
yeah,
them, some
So kind of more of a
It's a guy
slapstick
thing.
sort of.
Three Stooges are a guy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew one gal actually that was a Three Stooges fan.
They actually had a fan, wow.
Yep. Actually, the next one, the personal history of David Copperfield,
Oh.
and this is one of my favorite actors. It's just kind of an odd casting choice, but Dev Patel.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was in the best, something I don't have it exactly right, but the best ever Marigold Hotel.
Oh, yes,
the-
yes,
the,
yes.
Oh, yeah, set in India.
Yeah.
And that escapes me.
Yeah.
I actually saw that movie.
And there's two of them. There's the best ever Marigold Hotel.
And then back to the best ever.
No,
something.
just two.
Oh, just two.
Just two, yeah. But the setup on that is that there's a inexpensive hotel in India that caters to expatriate British retirees. So it's a good place to go if you're British, and your money will go a long ways. You have a very comfortable life there. And Patel is terrific in that. And of course, he was also in Slumdog Millionaire.
Yes.
Right.
But here,
One
he's
of my favorites, and
Yeah,
that is a
oh.
great
So
movie.
he plays David Copperfield in this movie, though.
Yeah, so we have David Copperfield being played by an obvious person of Indian extraction, so it's an odd choice. I haven't seen it, so
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see. how
today
it pulls out.
at 1. Tenet.
And how's that been going?
Well, I don't know. I'm not the theater guy.
You're not the theater guy, you're just a critic.
Just a critic.
That's why I was asking you, how's it going? I'm critical of everything.
But Tenet is amazing, and your favorite director, Christopher Nolan,
Well, he's not my favorite. I like him, but he's not my favorite.
contemporary.
No, not even.
Really? Who's your
Yeah.
favorite contemporary?
Well, I'm still stuck on Roman Polanski, which makes me really.
He's still alive, so
I
he's
know
still,
he is.
still contemporary.
Yeah,
Really?
I know.
Has he done anything lately?
I don't think so. I think he's still hiding out in France.
Well, he can't come back to this country.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that would explain that.
Yeah. But I was having a conversation with an attorney last night, actually.
I'm sorry.
And my attorney.
this is good. Oh,
I
okay.
love my attorney.
Okay.
And we were joking.
I'll keep that in mind.
we were joking about some things that he was going to be doing,
Mhm.
and I asked him if he'd seen Chinatown, and he had not. So I cited to him my favorite line from Chinatown, in which Jack Nicholson says to Faye Dunaway, "Don't get angry with me, Mrs. Mulray," and she says back to him, "I don't get angry, Mr. Gittes. My lawyer does."
Ah, there you go.
And my lawyer cracked up. He was he loved it. So for Christmas, I'm sending him a copy of Chinatown.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That works.
And that's Roman Polanski, by the way. Yeah.
And Shakespearean quotes, I think it was Falstaff that said, "First we kill all the lawyers."
Yeah.
Shakespeare, can't beat him.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I gotta love it. So, there's some
Okay, anyway,
some
Tenet.
movies.
Tenet. Well, I do like Christopher Nolan, but I was not a big fan of this movie. I don't think I'm smart enough, and you must be really smart because you liked it.
Wow, for the first time, we're all on the same page here. Gee, I didn't say that, I'm sorry.
No, but I had a real hard time following it because it shifts, backwards, forwards,
Oh,
upside
yeah.
down. I mean, it's a play with time. But one of my favorite movies by him is Memento, which is kind of a play in time because the guy has no short-term memory.
Well, and as I think you mentioned last week, Andy, this is one of those movies where you don't want to be having a side conversation with the person
Yeah,
next to
you
you, or
gotta
you're going to miss some
focus.
No,
important stuff.
you stop to smooch, you're gonna miss something, and if you get a step behind, you're never, ever gonna catch up.
Right.
Right.
But it stars
no smooching.
Denzel Washington's son.
Hmm.
And I love Denzel, and I mean, his son was wonderful. So,
Right.
Yeah. And the photography, the visuals are extraordinary. I like that. I just had a hard time following it.
Well, yeah, no, I understand that
It's tough,
completely.
yeah.
What was the spaceman movie he did with Matthew McConaughey? Transcendence or
Oh.
transference? Trans something.
Something trans. Uh-oh, there's a joke there.
I'm not going there.
Anyway, Christopher Nolan frequently in his movies deals with time and space anomalies, and it's often confusing. And this one is exceptionally confusing
Yeah.
because you've got regular time and you've got backwards
Time, right.
going on simultaneously on the screen, and you have to have part of your brain is watching backwards time and keeping track of that, and the other part of your brain is watching forwards time and keeping track of that, and it is quite an exercise to do that.
Wow.
And you said I like the movie. I think that more appropriately it would be to say that I appreciated the movie.
Yeah.
I appreciate the kind of the genius, the concept, and the skill with which the concept was brought to fore. But for a movie that you enjoy, maybe Unhinged will be for you.
And
This one comes out today at 1:30.
So it's
1:30.
debuting today.
No.
No.
It was here last week.
Oh,
Russell
right.
Crowe.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Oh,
it.
And he is unhinged.
Oh,
apparently,
boy.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you both have seen this movie?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I have. And,
Yeah.
Let's spoil it for her real quick. How was
Yeah,
it?
that's fine. I love Russell Crowe.
Yeah, Russell Crowe is a great, crazy guy. And he's, they make him, I don't know how big Russell Crowe is in real life. I don't think he's a huge man. But in this one, they photograph him so that he looks like he's very tall and very beefy. He's about 320 maybe. If you saw him on the street, you say, oh, that guy's about 320 pounds.
I mean, okay, because I know he gained some weight.
Well, I think they put him in a fat suit too.
Oh, my goodness.
So
So
he's-
they
I
did,
mean, he's
because
really-
if you look at him in Gladiator, The Body Beautiful, I mean, he was really, had worked out and was really in shape.
Mhm.
But then I saw him on the beach, a picture of him on the beach, and I was very disappointed.
Russell Crowe, the hostess ding dong here.
It was sad.
I really Gladiator was a fantastic
Wonderful
movie. I
movie.
love
And
that.
you know what he was really good at, and people, was it L.A. Confidential?
Yeah,
Remember with
Yeah.
the blonde,
yes, that's the one.
the blonde. Oh no, and Guy Pearce was in that. Who was in Memento, the Christopher Nolan movie. But L.A. Confidential, you need to see that again. It's a super film noir, beautifully crafted movie. Yeah.
Very interesting. All right.
And Russell Crowe, one of his early movies when he was still a young actor in Australia, he plays a brute, a vicious, uncontrolled skinhead. It's called Romper Stomper.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
It's mean.
brutal
Yeah.
violence,
Yeah. It's gratuitous violence.
and that too.
All a matter of perspective, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
But then
But-
he's also in. Did you see Proof of Life?
I don't
with
think so.
Meg Ryan and Russell Crowe. That's a fabulous movie. I don't know why it hasn't had more traction. I've seen that several times.
Is that the one where he's trying to get somebody back that's kidnapped in South
Yes,
America?
yes.
I have seen-
Her husband, And there's, it's beautiful.
He's like a private eye or something.
Yes, and it's a wonderful movie and very restrained. There's a real melancholy about the relationship between him and Meg Ryan because they are attracted to each other, but there's an honor about his his stance because she is married. And it's a beautiful movie. Yeah.
Wow, very interesting.
Hmm.
So
Anyway, Russell Crowe is a great, big, crazy guy that goes after this lady, and it's just awful stuff. And I have that in my head as a horror movie because he's just this huge, violent, unstoppable, unreasoning force. So anyway, it's a pretty tough movie to watch, but it's kind of fun to see Russell Crowe in that role.
very interesting. So, and is that everything that's playing at the Sawmill
That's
Theater?
everything that's playing at the Sawmill today.
And you can
And
always
tomorrow.
go there. You go. You can always go online to find out more by just going to sawmilltheaters.com, and you can see what's playing, when it's playing, and all of that. What things are rated. There's actually some good choices for all members of the family.
Yeah, Minions is really cute.
Yeah. So take the kids out, have some fun.
Yeah.
And which reminds me, I wanted to also ask because these are your hometown movie guys. I mean,
That's us.
The critics extraordinaire, etc. So who else would know more than the two of them when asked the question, what's your favorite concession at the theater?
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
Crazy?
What?
Yeah.
Did you fall down and hit your head? What?
Nuts.
So popcorn?
No, not nuts, popcorn.
And so
Anything with dark chocolate.
anything with dark chocolate.
Yeah.
So
Popcorn.
Yeah.
dark chocolate covered
Dark
bacon.
chocolate, popcorn, dark chocolate covered popcorn.
Yes, that could work. I like that.
Gimme.
Yeah, but dark chocolate.
You got to have something when you go to sit down, though. I mean, it's always good to be sitting there nibbling on something. I think that's just me. And
It
you know,
is just you.
Andy told me there's
And
no
it's just
smooching.
Andy
You're going
as
to miss
well.
out on the movie, so I
Yeah,
can't
really.
be
Yeah.
occupying
Well,
my time with
that's
that.
not a movie for you. You should go see Minions.
It's more age appropriate,
Yeah, really.
or at least IQ appropriate. So
Hold up your fingers.
Yeah. There you go. No, you don't lick them. I don't want to. So now, let's go back to Star Wars here for a little bit.
Okay.
I assume, and you know what they say about that, but I assume
Are
that
we still on the air, or have we transitioned?
no, we're on the airwaves and the internet and everywhere else right now for at least another few minutes.
Dang.
We're going to transition though on KRIM back to more of your favorite music here in just a moment. Have some tunes coming up for you from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Def Leppard, Bob Schneider, Everclear. Oh, I remember Everclear.
Everclear.
I don't.
You're not allowed to take that stuff on planes.
Yeah,
Yeah, seriously.
for a lot of very smart reasons.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
absolutely.
Anyway.
I grew up in San Diego, and one of my fraternity brothers would go down to Mexico and bring back a 5-gallon tin of that stuff for our
Oh, my
parties.
word.
Boy, that stuff
It was
is.
just
Well, I remember when I was first
Quite
introduced
dangerous.
to it, I had, back in my earlier days, I had a bit of a reputation for occasionally tossing back a shot of tequila, and someone offered me just a straight up shot of Everclear. I can do tequila, I can do that, and he took my breath away.
His hair's on fire.
Yeah, just something ain't right here.
So it's a band?
And we've never heard of them again because they drank too much.
Yeah, it's like having a band called Hospitalization.
Well, we're gonna continue on with you on Facebook Live. We have about we reached about 540 people there so far. So
And don't
we're gonna keep on
forget
with
the
that.
contest.
That's right.
2 movie tickets, 2
2
t-shirts, and translate my t-shirt
Which says,
eschew obfuscation.
right?
And it's a command.
That's right.
So you
Don't
gotta
give them
do-
any hints.
Yeah.
You're giving them 2 t-shirts and 2 tickets, for heaven's sakes. Let them figure it out.
Yeah.
Well,
And if
you're
you
mean.
cranky on Fridays. Anyway, if you can answer that question, just chime in on
Yes.
Facebook Live, and we'll be keeping on with you here for another
Yes,
30
you
minutes talking about
obfuscation.
movies and stuff. In the meantime, those of you listening over the airwaves, we're going to get you back to more of your favorite music. But first, a quick look at Rib Country weather.
I wonder if
All right.
I had a little mango juice with Everclear in it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my God.
Mellow me out a little.
That's right. Breakfast of Champions. So now we don't even have to worry about these microphones anymore because we're not using them.
That's good.
But we're going to continue to talk. So when it comes
Can they
to
still hear us?
on Facebook
On
Live, they can.
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that little funky microphone up there.
Hello?
Woo!
Yeah.
Hello?
Are we still on?
The,
Is this thing on?
Anyway, so out of all of the Star Wars movies that you've seen, favorite scene?
Ooh, favorite scene, okay, is in, I can't remember now which one it is. I think it's the last in the 9 series.
Right.
And they,
The most recent one that was.
yeah, although they're doing off-series. They did one solo.
Hey, this sold so well. Let's just make some other stuff up too.
Yeah, they do. They did a solo, I think the name of it was, and it's a part of the early life of Han Solo, and it shows how him and Chewbacca met and stuff. It's very touching. They met in prison. But there's a Luke Skywalker as an old dude now, and he's in exile. He's out of business and everything. He's all looks horrible. Poor Mark Hamill. And at one time, he was really graced the cover of Teen Beat and similar magazines.
I hate to think about how many years ago that was.
Yeah, but anyway, he's an old guy, and they filmed this, I think, in the there's some islands off the coast of Ireland that are like mountain peaks coming up out of the water. And they're small, and in the Middle Ages, there were monks lived there. They had in isolation, so they're really isolated, and it's a great place to do photography because you never see them. It's like all new. It's like they were on a different planet.
Right.
So he's there, and somebody goes to see him, and there's a kind of a mammalian dinosaur sea creature,
Wow.
big, and he's there on this little island with this big monster thing, and he gets his morning beverage, and he goes up, and because it's mammalian, he is able to get it to produce milk, and that is one of the most disturbing.
Yeah. That was the first word that came to my mind.
Disturbing images I've ever seen,
Right.
especially for a Star Wars movie. Was really odd.
But there's been so many over the course of all these movies that
You don't remember that, huh?
I don't believe I've seen that. I believe I've deliberately not seen that.
But there's been so many different scenes that were really innovative, and I mean the creative juices that were brought into it. The bar scene that you talked about earlier with all the different critters and stuff. I mean just how you think
those
some
are people. Those aren't critters.
there's some really ugly people in that movie.
Well, no,
but I mean,
critters.
for them to think up these different types of
Yeah.
the one that looks like maybe from PBS, the Snuffleupagus' older grandfather or something.
Yeah.
There's different.
He was a musician, wasn't he?
he,
The Snuffleupagus guy. He was a.
he played the horn, yeah.
He did. Yeah.
But there's just an awful lot of weird creativity that went into that. I've always found, I don't know, fun. I've enjoyed. There's been a couple, not this, the most recent one that you were just talking about, I found to be pretty good, and we went and saw that at the Sawmill Theaters when that came out. But I think it was one or two before that. I think it was the one just before that. I remember going to see it, and I was always, man, another Star Wars movie, finally, because it had been quite a while. And sat down and endured, I don't know, 2.5 hours of stuff, and walked away going, man, I was anticipating more than I got. But they did a better job, I think, with this last one.
Well, it's hard to keep the magic alive. And when we go to the movies, at least when I go to the movies, I want to be captivated and transported.
Right.
And it does not often happen.
Well, and going back again to the very first episode that they came out with back in the 70s, one of the other...
Episode 4?
Yeah.
The first one?
The first episode 4, yeah. But the scenes were they're coming down in their spaceships to bomb the Death Star, and they got to get into this channel and go down and release a photon torpedo at just the right point for it to go into this shaft. And all of the people that are getting blown away on the residual deaths that are happening and everything. I mean, for that to be done, pretty much all in virtual reality, they did a heck of a job. I mean, that the special effects were astounding, and we'd never seen anything like that prior to that. And they've kept up pretty good when it comes to that. Although one of the things that I found disturbing in this most recent episode, which is episode 1, I don't know, whatever number this most recent one was, but the fact that Princess Leia was in the movie with CG, character generated stuff, and then the evil dark side guy, the tall, skinny.
Grand Tarkin Moth, I think his name was.
Was that what he's just an old dude.
But he was like an imperial general.
Yeah, and I have to say it was kind of creepy, but pretty amazing how much, if you weren't really expecting it and weren't paying a lot of close attention, you probably wouldn't realize that none of that was real, that was all computer generated.
Yeah.
Amazing, the creative juices.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you could create the next episode of Star Wars, Tina.
I'm a bad person to ask because
You're not a big Star Wars
I'm
fan?
not a big Star Wars fan.
There's no Shakespearean quotes or anything in there.
And there's no film noir. I mean, but I love the first one. The Empire Strikes Back. I remember the scene where they were on those little scooter things, whipping in and out of the trees.
Right.
That was amazing.
Yeah, with the little teddy bear people.
The little teddy bears. Yeah, the sort of the Wookieettes. Right.
The Wookettes.
The Wookettes.
I think they play Friday night at the Oxbow.
Yeah. No, they're at Pete's.
Oh, fur optional. Well, I gotta get away from this somehow.
No more coffee for you.
That's right. I'm thinking way too far up here. At any rate, but there was a lot of different little. One of the similarly, not in a Star Wars movie, but in another series of films that had used some pretty unusual, a lot of computer generated stuff, was in the just like that, the name escapes me. There was a trilogy of movies, and it was all in a fantasy.
Matrix?
No. Tolkien.
Lord of the Rings.
And the Hobbit and everything.
Lord of the Rings.
The one little creepy dude that's in the cave and
Gollum.
Precious.
Gollum.
I mean, what are you
Yes.
drinking when you think up, or smoking or whatever, when you think up a character like that and pull it off that well? It's like, man, I mean, that, I don't know, I like to think I have some creativity, but I don't know that I ever would have.
Well, Gollum was representative of a human vice. Gollum was representative of greed. And I read a wonderful book by the guy who wrote The Road Less Traveled. And he wrote a book called People of the Lie. And it's really creepy because it's about sociopathic people and what they do within families. And he said that he felt that Gollum was a personification of evil and greed. And he was a Christian psychologist. Having the brain fade, but no, I mean, Gollum is a really interesting character because he gloats, and the word Gollum, it has a real sort of icky feel to it. Like you stick to stuff.
Right.
Because you
Gollum's onto you.
Yeah. Get these golems off me. Right.
But there was a lot of different. Between the hobbits, who are short people with hairy feet, and I mean there was a
Good appetites.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And
I love Lord of the Rings.
And then you've got the very statuesque white flowing hair on horses people that
Yeah.
were
The elves.
whatever they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can see I'm a real fan.
But
I mean, they thought out a lot of very unusual stuff,
well, remember, Tolkien was a classical scholar.
right?
He was at Oxford. I'm actually reading a biography of Tolkien right now.
Wow,
It's fascinating, and he and C.S. Lewis hung out together.
I remember
They
that.
were big. They were
And-
big buds.
And I mean that right there, when you
Yeah.
look at the works of C.S.
Oh, my
Lewis,
word.
I mean, their conversations getting together had to be,
Can you imagine?
have a lot of depth to them.
Yeah.
Well, Tolkien was in his personal life anyway, was a very religious person.
Yes, he was.
And it shows in the stark contrast he makes between good and evil.
Yeah.
And how powerful evil is to tempt us.
Mhm.
Yes.
And which, frankly, is a theme that we have in Star Wars too.
That's
You
true.
know, to
Well, it's pretty
bring you
relatable. I think.
over to the dark
Well,
side.
I think
well,
everybody
that
can
phrase,
relate to
the
that.
dark side.
Right.
You think of Darth Vader. It just, yeah,
Utterly captured by
Yes.
the pursuit of evil,
yeah,
and the pursuit of evil to obtain power.
yes,
I think that whole good versus evil thing, I mean, that's a reoccurring theme in a lot of different productions, but
Mhm.
I think it's something that we can all relate to. I think, everybody, to one extent or another, realizes the realism of that, the fact that it does exist.
Well, not everybody. Some people are
Dense.
relative morality,
Mhm.
where, it's my truth versus your truth instead of some ultimate truth.
Right.
And that's a little creepy.
Yeah.
And that's that has been with us. The relativism has been with us since the Greek philosophers.
Yep.
They warned us. I mean, 2,500 years ago.
Yep.
They warned us about stepping down that road and where it ends up, and it doesn't end up in a good place.
No,
Right. Makes sense.
no.
Interesting stuff all the way around.
So, speaking of evil,
Yes.
and
But wait, there's more.
well, wait, there's more. I have a couple of movies that I've seen on Prime lately, and one of them was The Devil's Double, and it's on Prime now. It's free. Some of them are paid movies, but this is free. This is a true story. It was made in 2011 by about a young Iraqi soldier who he had written a book, and this was made from his book. His name was Latif Yahia. And Saddam Hussein, whom we all know was really evil,
Yeah.
he had two sons, and one was named Uday, who was a sociopathic sadist. I mean, a creepy guy. And so Latif Yahia was grabbed by Uday to be his double. Now, you'd have a double when you were very wealthy and very hated by many people, because you could stick your double out there and, they'd think it was you doing whatever you chose. It's like, I don't want to go out there and, and be me today. You be me.
Right.
And it's the same. Uday and this guy are both played by the same actor. I swear I didn't even realize that in the beginning of the movie because it was so well done. His name's Dominic Cooper, and
Oh,
you know who he
sure,
is,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
The
He's
preacher.
the preacher, Mamma Mia, Captain America, The Duchess, Reasonable Doubt. He's
Wow.
an extraordinary English actor, but it's not for the faint-hearted. The absolute stuff that was done to people by this family, by the Hussein family, and Uday is the worst.
We should
Yeah.
we should say the late Uday.
Yes, the late Uday.
Because
Well,
American soldiers killed him
They
dead as a
did,
mackerel.
but not before he was crippled by an assassination attempt, which did not kill him.
Wow.
But Latif was instrumental in that because he finally couldn't stand what he was being made to do.
Hmm.
I mean, it is a personification of evil. So The Devil's Double on Prime, really.
The Devil's Double.
Yeah, all right.
I have a Prime account. I'll have to check that out. That sounds.
Yeah.
I really like. I'm. When it comes to watching movies, it's nice to take the little mental trip to, Star Wars land and stuff like that. But more than anything, movies that are based on history and reality, I've always found that to be a lot more interesting. I mean, as opposed to, some of the half-baked stuff people come up with sometimes.
Well,
Well,
then there's
we're-
also to see on Prime, it is but it's pay-worthy, Mr. Jones, which was about the Gareth Jones, who was a journalist who went to Stalin's, he somehow got into Stalin's Ukraine and saw the starvation that was being covered up by, may he
The New York Times.
rot in hell, Walter Durante, who was the New York Times. And the New York Times and Walter Durante, they covered it up. And Walter Durante still, I mean, he's dead, but he still has a Pulitzer Prize. They should have taken that away from him. He was truly evil. So Mr. Jones is another one to
Very
see
interesting.
that. And then there's another one that's now on Prime, and everybody should see it. It's called No Safe Spaces.
Yeah.
And you've seen it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's by Dennis Prager, the radio host.
That's on
and
Prime now?
It's on Prime, and it's $4.99, and it's really worth it. So we should all see that.
I'm going to put it, I've done this before, but I'll put in another plug. First of all, when you're talking about, people dying of starvation and stuff, I've spent some time in Bangladesh and other places where you actually witness that firsthand, and it's, you come back here with a whole different perspective. But on that same trip where I experienced that, I spent a couple of weeks in Calcutta, India, working with some of the 3 million Dalits on the streets there. And there was a movie that, if you haven't seen it yet, it's been out for a long time, and it was Patrick Swayze movie
Yes.
called City of Joy.
City of Joy, yeah.
I don't know that movie would necessarily mean as much to me if I hadn't been to Calcutta, but there is an awful lot we can learn from the Dalits or the poorest of the poor that live on the streets there. I mean, they wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, I have another day,
I know.
and they don't take for granted the beauty that today is. And there's a lot of great messages in that movie, and I found it to be a very accurate look at what life in Calcutta is like, and
Yeah.
it ain't fun.
We
Yeah.
should do a show sometime on Patrick Swayze movies, because he really was a major talent.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week.
It's a good day.
Just in time for Halloween, we'll do Ghost.
There we go, yeah. good
Yeah, oh, wonderful movie.
That was a great movie, and
Yeah.
and actually that was I'm not a big Whoopi Goldberg fan, but I'd say that's about the best part that I've ever seen her play. in a
Oh, she
movie.
was also in The Color Purple.
Yeah.
And I will give her credit for that. She did an amazing job in that. That was a
I
super
need to
movie.
see that movie someday.
It was good. It was good. Yeah.
I like Red better.
Well, you mentioned you like history movies.
Yeah.
The Rim Country Republican Club will be bringing to the Sawmill Theater on October 10th, which again is a Saturday at 10 a.m. The historically based movie, The Patriot.
Yes, Mel Gibson.
That is a great
Mel
movie.
Gibson
That is a great
starring.
movie.
Did he direct that? I believe he
I
did.
don't know.
I'm not sure.
Don't remember.
But he is so amazing in that movie. Yeah.
And it's about the American
It
Revolution
is
Right.
wonderful.
in the southern colonies.
Yes. Yeah.
It actually, in a sense, paralleled in a way, as far as getting roped into being involved in the conflict. It reminded me of the
Hobbit.
Braveheart.
Oh, well, which was also
Initially a
Mel,
little
yeah.
resistant in getting involved, but then
Right.
all of a sudden
Right,
things happen and
Yeah.
it changes your
And
perspective.
for a penny, in for a pound.
right.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
But interesting. So, and that's
And that'll be for free,
2 weeks from tomorrow, the 10th.
the 10th,
Yeah.
And at what time?
10 a.m.
The 10th at 10. You can remember that.
No, we'll
I can
remind him,
remember.
we'll remind him next week.
There you go.
Yeah.
But that sounds good. And the Rim Country Republican Club doing that.
Yep. Patriotic movies.
I like it.
Yep.
Are you going to be doing more of that?
Yep, yeah, we did one last time we did Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Right? How did that work
Yeah.
out?
Oh, it's great. That was a tremendous
That's a
movie.
wonderful.
80-year-old movie and
Yeah.
still relevant today.
Get a lot of people to show up for it?
1939.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yep, yep. And another historic movie is The Promise. That's on Netflix, and it is
Why does
about
that sound
the
familiar?
The
Oh,
Armenian
that's right.
genocide. And it's a fictionalized version, but of a real event, and it doesn't whitewash the Turks. the Turks don't deserve to be whitewashed. They were horrific.
Right.
And so it was, I believe it was made by the same guy who made Hotel Rwanda, which, with Don Cheadle. And that was, another, oh, I'm so cheerful today, genocide movie.
Well,
Yeah, we could do a whole thing on genocide
We
movies.
could, yeah.
A quick side story about Turks. Flew into Istanbul in '99. They had a big earthquake that decimated the cities of Izmit, Golchuk, and Adapazarı on the southeastern coastline of the Sea of Marmara. Spent the first day up in a helicopter flying over everything, getting situational awareness. Next day, we were going to hit the ground. And so I had been provided a government-provided interpreter who went with us, and is a very stoic young guy, but did not look like he wanted to be where he was. But went with us, and the first meeting I had that morning was with the governor of Izmit. And we sat and had very hot tea in little glass things that didn't have any handles, and it was fun to try and drink. But as we were doing this, the governor of Izmit would say, blah, 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 and the interpreter would look at me and said, he says hi. Okay. And I'd say something like, it's a pleasure to be here. We're trying to do some needs assessment to figure out what areas of need are going unmet and blah, blah, blah. And he looks over at the guy and says, blah, blah. And this kept going back and forth where it's like, and there's got to be a loss in translation here. It's not going well, and it just didn't feel right. So after that, we stopped at a little roadside cafe for lunch, and he still hadn't, cracked even a slight grin. And over lunch, he confided that, I don't like Americans, and I don't like the fact that you're here. And I'm thinking, okay, well, tell you what, you got the rest of the day off. I don't need you as an interpreter.
Yeah.
And we left him there, and we left.
Good.
It's a weird. You're on that. There's an awful lot of the Arab influence, but Istanbul, a fantastic city.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Dating back to when it was Constantinople and everything. I mean, the Blue Mosque and a lot of the old Roman era baths are still functional, and I mean, it's a fascinating city.
Yeah.
But I don't want to live there.
No, and the Turks are, the being as cruel as Turks used to be a comparison expression that people would use because they're brutal. They seem to have a cultural brutality that is really implacable.
But now baklava,
But
I'm okay with that.
But
So,
that's Greek.
yeah, but it's not far away. They have a lot of it there.
Yeah, the Greeks and the Turks.
But most of that Mediterranean food
So we
is
still
variations
don't have
on
a
a theme
winner.
of tomato.
We need a winner.
We don't even have a loser yet.
What? A shoe
We've-
obfuscation, y'all.
On Facebook Live,
No.
we've reached
Nothing.
778 people,
And nobody knows.
and nobody knows the answer to a shoe
A shoe obfuscation.
obfuscation.
You need to win.
If you
2
can
T-shirts, 2 free movie passes.
just
Oh my
type in
God.
your definition right now on
Yeah,
Facebook Live, and hey,
see if I accept it.
anyway, always a pleasure to have our hometown movie guys with us. And are there any new movies coming next week? Do we know yet?
We don't know.
We don't know. Hopefully next week Craig will be with us and he'll give us the lowdown.
Yeah.
They have relaxed a
But-
little bit of the social distancing, a little bit, right?
Yeah, and the problem that, from Craig's perspective, that's the reason why we're getting Star Wars and Minions this week, is that there's no content available this week.
Yeah.
Coming up soon, though, we have Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman 84.
Gail Gadot or
With-
Gadot or
yeah,
whatever her name
yep.
is. Yeah.
Gal Gadot.
Gail Gadot.
She's anyway. Wonder Woman's coming in, new Wonder Woman movie, so we're looking forward to that. And then,
I wonder about all the women.
boy, you just
Don't go there.
don't say things like that.
Stop that.
Ooh, there's a hot mess down there.
And there's a James Bond movie coming up
Yeah.
pretty soon too.
Huh.
So those are things that we have to look forward to.
Oh, that's Dominic Cooper
Yeah.
played Ian Fleming in a TV movie about James Bond. The
Huh.
man who would be Bond.
Really?
I swear, the
Awesome.
man, he's a real shapeshifter.
Wow.
He's really good. So The Devil's Double, yeah, really, yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing we ought to, we don't have time today, but we ought to adventure down that road one of these days of choices for best actor and actress of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time.
You're talking big span of time, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe decades, different decades, or
Okay.
different genres, maybe.
Okay, so for you, what about the 20s?
The 20s,
The 1920s?
Clara Bow.
Clara Bow, Charlie
The
Chaplin.
fact that they're coming up with names like this,
Charlie, yeah, we're that old. Charlie Chaplin, he really was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and he, you know, people dismiss him because of The Little Tramp, but he also did The Great Dictator, which is a really, really good movie that was, poking fun at Hitler.
was that still in the silent movie era, or was
Yeah,
that really?
yeah, it was in the early 30s, or the 30s. Yeah,
Huh.
during the Hitlerian era. Really good stuff. Yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have today. We appreciate you joining along with
What
us.
about the 30s?
Yeah, what about those?
Okay, so you got a name from the 30s?
Yes,
Who?
Mae West.
Oh, is that a pickle in your pocket, or are you just glad to see me?
And we'll leave you with that. Have a great, every Friday morning, 10 o'clock, your hometown movie guys. Don't miss another episode. We're stopping right now before this gets